Okay, so we're back with Thicker Than Water. Um, so I just kind of skipped around the book a little bit, and this is chapter 7 in education. So Carrie talks about, she starts with why she decided to go to college. She's like, there was never a question in my parents' mind about whether I was going to college. With the unintended pressure to book work that had been placed on me by my parents, I had grown confused and ambivalent about what my relationship to acting had become. The work that felt most fulfilling was now the kind connected to arts, education, and activism, the work I was doing with Star Theater. I was still auditioning for film and television roles, but the question of my college lay on the horizon. She goes on, but we're going to skip. She was basically auditioning for this part in this movie called Interview with a Vampire, and it had come down to her and Thandie Newton. And she said, if I didn't get it, I told my team that if I got the Sally Hemings role, I would defer college and continue to pursue a career in acting. But the part went to Thandie Newton, and I went to George Washington University. So I have an entire channel devoted to this thing I call I called it Thandie Talks because I think that Thandie Newton is just a very interesting woman. I don't know if she's written a book, but she's just done enough interviews where you could just read her interviews and just understand quite a lot about who she is as a person. And I broke down that interview into these segments, and it's interesting as fuck. I want to work on a theatrical piece actually where I just act out her interview because there's something to, like, she was sitting down with this interviewer and they were talking about it, and it's probably like the interviewer took a lot of time to think through how to ask those questions to get her to give those types of responses, but she did. And as a reader, we just learned so much about it because I think Thandie went to Cambridge or Oxford. She went to one of those really good schools in England. Um, so both of these women are really smart, and it is interesting to think about where Kerry Washington was when she was auditioning against Thandie. Like, I think Thandie had already graduated from college at this point and had already been working for a minute. And so Kerry goes on to talk about how, like, why she picked George Washington University, which she keeps calling GWU. She's saying that was her first time like living away from this thing called Pugsley Avenue. Um, she talks about how she was able to focus on like the actual acting and not how she looked, because she was talking about there's so many times that she went in and she felt like she wasn't pretty enough, and she felt like her look was more important than her acting. I think that's an interesting concept to take on as a black person, specifically because of the marginalization of especially black women, where they tend to think there's only one look. You gotta look like this, you gotta look like that, or else you don't count because all black women are the same. Fuck them. This is what I'm saying. We literally have to build everything. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. Um, what else is interesting about? Shut up. God. So she says, but at GWU, she says I was let's just actually quote what she said. Before I left for GWU, auditioning in New York had become difficult, not only because of the pressure to book and the need to earn, but also because the multiple tensions of not feeling attractive enough to win roles, attempting to conform to casting directors' ideas of what was attractive, and then finding myself catcalled and hassled out on the streets because I was traveling to and from auditions dressed in the ways I thought I had to. But at GWU, the need to be desirable got divorced from the opportunities to act. So rather than objectifying myself, I could focus on acting and the business attached to it. It was in college I fell more deeply in love with the craft. With my scholarship, I was being paid not just to act, but to learn how to act. I was giving a toolbox to access and harness the magic, to focus on process rather than booking jobs. I didn't have to walk in the room and think about my appearance unless it was relevant to the character and the story. I learned to be in service to the material itself. That's interesting. I don't the Ash man. I really don't know. I feel like during this time in Hollywood and in New York, we just didn't have enough black writers who felt like they were able to tell their genuine experiences, because I honestly feel like for a lot of black women specifically, their adulthood was stunted. It was stunted and marginalized because of American racism. I think a lot of people just don't understand how much like representation is so important. It's so important because it helps you like identify and see yourself as who you are now and who you would like to be and why you feel it's that way. And when you only have one or two instances of successful or normal, or really, this is so fucking pathetic to say, humanized black people, especially like humanized black women. But like, I mean, look at the, we'll just remember this is page 130. Like, look at the fucking picture of the book. It's Kerry Washington with water, okay, and she's got like her natural hair out, and it's just like, it's incredible. Um, it's incredible. It's beautiful. Um, it's hard because you would think that that would be normal. It isn't. It isn't normal. It's not normal. And the fact that it's not normal is weird. Like, why can't this just be like how you show up in the world? Why do you have to change yourself? And who the fuck are you changing yourself for? Because there is no one else. It's only you. And it's so strange because, like, the history and archetype of the brown girl who just continues to go, like, who continues to be, I should say, like, misunderstood and mischaracterized and misrepresented and all these, like, miss. Like, when is someone actually gonna, like, catch on? Like, why can't anyone just get it right? There's gotta be a point when people just get it right. Like, sometimes you should just be able to get it right. It's not that complicated all the time. It's not. It's not. It's not. And we don't have to sit here and pretend like it is, because it isn't. It isn't. It's so weird. It's so weird. Just ugh.